This video was very highly requested, so here we are, a guide to saving every common type of shot in TPS Ultimate Soccer, from basic shots to Visus and more. Some of the content from this video comes from the full goalkeeper and shooting guides available for free in my Discord server, so be sure to check the description if you're interested. Just a side note, I mention a lot of concepts from the goalkeeper guide video series in this video, so make sure you go check that out before watching so you can understand everything that I say. I also just want to remind you that the speed and aim of this shot matters much more than the shot type. If someone sends a medium speed shot into the corner of the net, that's going to be much more difficult to save than a high speed shot directly at you. Without further ado, enjoy the video. There's no need to do anything fancy for almost any long. Reflex catches should cover them quite well. They are quite predictable and you have a lot of time to react. If you're conceding a lot of longs regularly, it likely just means you need more experience with the game, so just keep playing and you'll get better at saving them. This shot is very common amongst intermediate players, and it's often quite easy to save if you have the right technique. Reflex catches will almost always be able to cover Burnaldos unless it's aimed particularly well, for which you may have to dive. Rushing a Burnaldo spammer will almost always work, however be prepared for them to switch to a different shot or dribble around you. It's worth noting, however, that a failed Burnaldo is often more dangerous than a successful one. This is because it will go to your left rather than the right, throwing you off completely. They are almost impossible to predict, so you'll have to rely on your reflexes. It is for this reason that rushing may be a good idea against players who use this shot. Redkachu is a common shot amongst high levels, and there are a number of good reasons for that. It doesn't curve, meaning it's fast and it goes directly to its destination without curving around. The shooting animation is very quick and short, so it's difficult to read and predict. For many well-aimed Redkachus, you'd have to dive, as that would be the only way you can reach it in time. The easiest way to deal with a Redkachu spammer is to rush and bait them so they mess up their timing and shoot from a less dangerous zone. There's a tip I forgot to mention in the rushing and baiting guide video, so I'll leave it here. There's an exact time you can rush a player where they'll lose control of the ball. The timing varies, but this is typically right before they kick the ball as they approach the net. It will throw them off and give you an edge as you're making the first move. The unfortunate part about saving this shot is that there's no easy solution. All you can do is play the game more so you can gain more experience, making it easier to predict when someone's going to Redkachu you and where they're going to aim it. So as I said, diving is going to be critical to saving well-aimed Redkachus, which sucks because I don't recommend learning to dive until you've mastered reflex catches. If you're wondering why, it's to make sure you solidify reflex catches as the most common method of saving shots. Diving has a lot of room for error, and it should only be attempted when you can't reach a shot using a reflex catch. There will be more on diving in the final part of my goalkeeper guide. The Baraa is probably one of the most feared shots in the entire game, because it looks pretty intimidating when a player flicks up unexpectedly. It introduces a whole new dimension to shooting positions as you're receiving the shot from the sky. There are a couple of situations I'm going to cover here. Firstly, if you're receiving a Baraa from the front of the rush line, it'll be very difficult to save as it's unpredictable and fast. Remember that it's always a good idea to bait opponents into shooting from further, as it will be much easier to save. This goes double for Baraa spammers, as a point-blank Baraa is a nightmare to deal with. Baiting a Baraa spammer is the most effective way of dealing with them, as once they flick up they will often panic shoot due to the bait surprising them. They likely don't have any other plan. If it's a high level, be prepared for them to respond with a different shot. If baiting doesn't work and they flick up to Baraa from around the rush line, your best bet is to run towards them with a high reflex catch. If they get the shot off before you think to rush and it's actually well aimed, then you're gonna have to dive to save it, unless it's directly at or above you. If you're rushing someone and they unexpectedly flick up to Baraa, you'll have the highest chance of saving it if you move back while performing a high dive. You'll want to left click before pressing G to maximize your surface area, as it will enable your legs to save the shot if it goes low. The key to dealing with Baraas is learning to rush and bait well. Nothing will be more effective at dealing with them. Now, you can call the name funny all you want, but this is by far one of the most dangerous shots for a goalkeeper to deal with. The first time you encounter a Nacho is normally an eye-opening moment where you realize people can use their reach to hit seemingly impossible shots, giving you a seemingly impossible save. You should take notice of the ping or reach of each player that is approaching the net. If they're both high ping, so kicking the ball from further away, and high level, the chances of them attempting a Nacho increase quite a lot. Avoid committing to dives unless you absolutely need to. As usual, baiting a Nacho spammer is probably your best bet. As someone who used to use Nachos, it's very difficult to resist using a pass C Nacho on a keeper that's rushing you. If a Nacho spammer comes dangerously close and you have to rush, make sure to utilize your camera by spinning it for maximum surface area. Make sure you take their reach into account when rushing. Always try to play it safe. There are so many different variations of Nacho that it would take ages to cover them all in one video. I may make a video on it in the future, but it's a very niche topic, so that's unlikely. Overall, it's very possible for one of these shots to be impossible to save, and you shouldn't beat yourself up over conceding one. They can be super unpredictable, and every keeper will concede at least a few at some point, no matter how good they are. The external shot was rather uncommon until it was popularized by the top 3 scorer external TV man. I've included it in this video as the shot is very similar to the low basic shot you'll see a lot of low level players accidentally use. This shot's danger level really depends on the aim of the player that's using it. Most people can't aim it very well, making it a relatively easy save. The problem comes when you're against a player who's got a good eye. This shot maximizes efficiency, so if it's done right, it'll have the speed of a Redkachu and go into a bottom corner, making it very difficult to reach. If a shot goes low, then a lower dive will be your best bet at saving it unless it's right at you. Remember to maximize your relative surface area through good positioning and rushing. A couple useful tips for saving this shot are having a line defender when you rush and learning the advanced technique of double tap diving, which we'll be covering in the final part of the goalkeeper guide. Visu is a highly feared shot and it's easy to understand why, but it's important to remember that most people who use it aren't able to aim it well. It's true that a well-aimed Visu is very hard to save, but you have to factor in that most Visus come from a long range, making them relatively easy to save. Most of these shots won't require a dive to save due to their long range, so reflex catches should do the trick. If you're finding it hard to respond fast enough to the shot, it means you have to play or train more, as that'll solidify your technique into your muscle memory. You'll notice that rushing and baiting are a core part of saving many of these shots, and that's because these techniques allow you to choose how far away the opponents shoot from. It's always worth training them for this reason. Prediction, reading players, and watching trends in how they shoot is also a big part of knowing how to save these shots. If you can predict it, then your chances of saving the shot become much higher. And what I almost always say is that experience will be the key to saving any shot. The more times you come up against them, the better you're likely to respond in the future. Keep playing the game and try to train in the practice arena when possible. Remember that you can't save every shot. Some players use boosts and that'll make some shots genuinely impossible to save, so don't be disheartened. All you can really do against boosted super curve shots is train more and develop your reflexes. So if you notice a high level, use a silly shot like a X3, X5 curve, 200 tools type shot, then just honestly don't worry about it. You might save it, you might not, but at the end of the day, it's barely a legitimate shot. There's not much you can do against it. All you can really do is train more and develop your reflexes. That'll be all for this video. Thank you for watching. Drop a like, sub, all that stuff.